Namaste. This is David Hawthorne at astroview.com. Today is the 26th of April, 2015. The following is a Vedic astrology horoscope for the exact time of the earthquake in Nepal, based on the 25th of April, 2015, at 11:56 a.m. in Kathmandu, Nepal. Now, using Vedic astrology and the systems approach to interpreting horoscopes, we see that in the first house we have the fourth sign of the zodiac ascending or rising at 14 degrees of Cancer. This is Cancer rising sign, with the royal moon in the first house and Guru, Jupiter, in the first house. So this is Guru and Chandra, Moon and Jupiter in Cancer. In the second house we have the fifth sign Leo, third house sixth sign Virgo. This is Rahu, R-A-H-U, the northern node of the moon, who's always opposite Ketu, K-E-T-U, the southern node of the moon, both at 15 degrees 38 minutes. These two are mathematical points in the zodiac. They cause the eclipse of the sun and the moon every year since the beginning of time. So if they can bring darkness to the royal luminary planets, the sun and the moon, they can bring darkness in our lives. We'll come back to them in a moment. In the fourth house we have the seventh sign Libra. In the fifth house we have the eighth sign Scorpio. And this is Shani, Saturn retrograde at 9 degrees 30 minutes in Scorpio. In the sixth house we have the ninth sign Sagittarius, seventh house 10th sign Capricorn, eighth house the 11th sign Aquarius, ninth house 12th sign Pisces. 10th house we have the first sign Aries, and we have Surya, Mongol, and Bud, Sun, Mars, and Mercury in the 10th house. And in the 11th house we have the second sign Taurus. This is Shukra in Vrishab, Venus in Taurus. And in the 12th house we have the third sign Gemini. Now, according to systems approach to Vedic astrology, we say that of these 12 houses, from the first house around to the 12th house, 9 houses are favorable. These are the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, ninth, 10th, and 11th. Those are the favorable houses. Planets going into those houses are considered well placed. But in every horoscope there are 3 houses that are not favorable. These are known as Dustan Bhavas, inauspicious houses. And for every chart these include the 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. Regardless of what sign falls in those houses, the 6th, 8th, and 12th are always Dustan Bhava. Any planet going into the 6th, 8th, or 12th automatically becomes weak. Now, if a Mool Trikona sign falls in the 6th, 8th, or 12th house, then the ruler of that sign automatically becomes known as a functional malefic planet for that rising sign only. The Mool Trikona signs are 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. Aries, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Sagittarius, Aquarius, and Aries. In other words, every planet, well, 5 of the 7 planets rule 2 bhavas, 2 houses. But what takes precedence is the Mool Trikona sign. So, for example, Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, but Virgo is the Mool Trikona sign, so that takes precedence. Venus rules Taurus and Libra, but Libra takes precedence. That's the Mool Trikona sign. Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius, but Aquarius is the Mool Trikona sign. And Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces, but Sagittarius is the Mool Trikona sign. This is a very great technique for understanding the functional nature of the planets. Multicone signs take precedence. So we always look to see if 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, or 11 fall in the inauspicious houses. If so, those rulers become functional malefic planets. So the 6th house contains the Multicone sign for Jupiter. This is Sagittarius. So Jupiter for the Cancer rising sign becomes a functional malefic planet. And the 8th house contains number 11, Aquarius, which is the Multicone sign for Saturn. So Saturn for the Cancer rising sign becomes known as most malefic planet. The 12th house is Gemini, which is not a Multicone sign. So the 12th ruler does not cause trouble for the Cancer rising. So the most favorable planets for Cancer are Sun, ruling the house of wealth and status, Moon ruling the chart, Mercury ruling the house of independence, Venus ruling the house of property and happiness, and Mars. Mars rules the house of karma and professional life. So these 5 planets, Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, and Venus, will never cause harm for the Cancer rising sign. Now, this rising sign degree is known as most effective point. There are 30 degrees possible. So this is very specific to the exact time of somebody's birth or the birth of any event. So we're reading a chart for the time of an event. Just as a child is born at a particular time, so is an earthquake or a plane crash or what have you. Or when you start a business or you take a wedding vow or buy a piece of property or start some new project, there is a horoscope for that particular moment. There are 30 degrees possible, so this particular rising sign is about the middle, about 14 degrees. Now, any planet within 5 degrees of that orb has an impact. If it's a favorable planet, it will give some positive result. If it's a functional malefic planet, it can cause adverse effects. By the way, Rahu and Ketu are functional malefic planets for every single rising sign. Nobody escapes. So this 5-degree orb for this particular chart starts about 9 degrees and it goes up to about 19 degrees. So first we see that Jupiter, ruling the 6th house, is a little bit close to the rising sign degree. It's about 4 degrees, maybe 4.5 degrees. But technically it's still within the orb of causing some affliction to this chart. It rules the 6th house, mental tension, health issues. And it can be fire, theft, all kinds of problems with Jupiter. So it causes some issue where in the house it occupies, which is the house of self, as it were, and it aspects 5, 7, and 9 houses away. So this is not ideal. It's a little close to the rising sign degree. Saturn, if you add 5 to this, you got 1430. This is 1425. So even Saturn is technically a bit close to the rising sign degree, kind of afflicting this 5th house of children and investments. It aspects 3 houses away, 7 houses away, and 10 houses away. So it's not helpful either. The real problem in this particular chart is Rahu and Ketu. Because at 15 degrees, they are within 1 degree, just a slightly more than 1 degree from the ascendant degree. So that means they have an 80% adverse effect where they occupy and where they aspect. Rahu and Ketu throw at aspects 5, 7, and 9 houses away. 5, 7, 5, 7, and 9 houses away. So technically, this Ketu is afflicting this 1st house of self. This is a person's health and vitality. It's afflicting this 3rd house of self-initiatives. It's afflicting this 5th house of mind and children. Rahu's afflicting this 3rd house, where it sits in Virgo. Its 5th aspect is 7 houses away. So this would also an affliction here. This is an affliction to the 9th house of good fortune and affliction to the house where Venus is sitting. Venus rules the 4th house of property and fixed assets. So I think it's the whole issue with Rahu and Ketu afflicting 6 of the 12 houses severely in a chart. This Ketu also undermines the strength of the 1st house, which is the chart itself. So this weakens Moon and this weakens Jupiter. And Ketu is afflicting this house, so it's weakening Saturn as well. And Saturn rules this 8th house of accidents and death-like experiences. And then Rahu is afflicting this house where Venus is sitting, ruling the 4th house of property and fixed assets. Let's look over at the Vimshatari Dasha sequence, the timing of the events. We see the chart. It was running the Guru Mahadasha, the Jupiter main period, which is a functional malefic planet for Cancer rising sign. And the Antardasha, the sub-period, was Rahu. This is the operating planet. So this is not an ideal chart. I mean, there are definitely issues going on in this chart, especially with its Rahu and Ketu. Whenever Rahu and Ketu are close to the rising sign degree for anybody's chart, they have to be careful, because this can be some unexpected calamity, some unexpected event like that. So this is what's going on. Rahu and Ketu are afflicting the 1st house, ruled by the Moon, undermining the strength of Moon, undermining the strength of Jupiter. They're afflicting Virgo, so they're undermining the strength of Mercury. They're afflicting the 5th house, so they weaken Saturn. Rahu is afflicting the 7th house. Ketu and Rahu are both afflicting the 9th house, which is the house of good fortune, divine grace, so it causes an eclipse of divine grace. And Rahu afflicting the 11th house, undermining the strength of Venus, ruling property. So that's, in my opinion, contributed to the earthquake. Namaste.